Hello everyone, Adrienne here, and today I'm coming to you with a review slash first impression of Alter Ego's Goddess palette. This is the outer packaging for the Goddess palette, and the palette looks exactly like the outer packaging. The back of it does have the shade names on it also. I'm going to go ahead and open the palette so you can see it. It does have a mirror here that I'm not going to blind you with, and it says Goddess on the mirror. This is what the shades look like. This palette is a dupe for the Natasha Denona gold palette. The gold palette is a palette that I've really been wanting for the last year, but $129 or 28, I don't know, 128 or 29, I think it's 29, seems to be a lot of money for me to spend on an eyeshadow palette. So I thought I would get this because this looked like a pretty good dupe for that palette. It's a 15 pan palette, and all the shade names are on it. The packaging is heavy duty. It really feels like a high-end palette. It's weighted and it's just got the magnetic snap closures, and it feels just like all the expensive palettes. I like it because it is very compact and feels like it would be sturdy for travel. This palette, I'm going to open it back up. This is the first look that I've created with this palette. I am probably going to create one more look, and in between each look I'm going to come back and give you my thoughts on how the palette performed and how easy the look was to create. I will show you some swatches of what this palette looks like on my skin tone right now, and I'll be right back. Now that you've seen what the swatches look like, I'm going to get into a little tutorial of how I created the shadow look that I'm wearing today. To finish off the rest of the look, besides liner and lashes, I did go back in and build up the colors a lot more. And in the inner corner here, for just a little pop of lightning, I went in with this shade here. And it turned out to be, I don't know if you guys can see, it's got like a greenish tone to it. I'm going to go ahead and set the palette down while I talk about it and give my opinions of this first look that I created. I think that the look turned out really pretty. It really did take a lot of work though to build the colors. I did notice that even after I turned the camera off, I went in and intensified the colors a little more, which sometimes happens with my high-end palettes when I'm also doing looks with them. I don't have my prescription contact lenses in, so once I get closer up to my mirror, I see that things need to be intensified and deepened. But it did seem like I needed to add quite a bit more of intensity to the shades to build them up. So I felt like it took some work, but this palette is a $16 palette, so I think the quality of the look overall turned out pretty good. Obviously, I'm going to work with more of the shades here in a few minutes, but I don't think it probably performs as well. I would certainly hope not, that it doesn't perform the same way as the Natasha Denona Gold palette. With that being a $129 palette, I would expect it to perform a lot better and to be a lot more pigmented right out the gate. I will point to some of these colors, open the palette back up and let you know. You could see, I'm sure, some of the kick up, kick back, whatever you want to call it, which I really don't mind in a palette. But the thing is I always go into palettes with a very light hand and I tap into palettes. I don't typically tend to swirl. So I thought it did kick up quite a bit for going in with a light hand, especially this shade here. That one seemed to kick up the most. This one wasn't too bad, and it could have been the type of brush I was using, but both of them were pretty soft blending brushes. So this one, I will say, kicked up quite a bit. And the metallic shades, I did, as you saw, put my brush down and start to use my fingertip to pat this color on. I didn't want to wet my brush. I wanted to see what the shades would look like dry. A lot of times I like to just build them up dry and see how the shadow is going to perform on its own. This is a palette though that I have a feeling that there's multiple looks I can create with. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and create one more look with it, and I'm going to give you my opinion of what those shades that I use for the second look are going to be like to work with. But I can see this being a palette that I will continue to update you on throughout the years. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and take this look off that I have now, and we'll get into how I create the second look. So here I am back with the second look completed. I do not know what happened to my footage. I could have swore that I turned the camera on. As soon as I got finished putting the shadows on, I realized I was not recording. So I went ahead and finished this look. I will point to the shades that I used and let you know what I think of this palette overall. On the eyelids, I did use this color, and then I put this shade. In the middle, I did a halo eye, and then on the outer corners and in the crease, I used this shade to deepen. And then for my inner corner highlight, I did go in with the Celestial shade here. I also used this as a base shade up here, up to the brow bone, and then as a transition shade, I went in with this color. And the reason I wanted to use this one is it's kind of a mustardy color. It has a lot of yellow undertones, and I was curious to see what it would do with this shade. So this is the completed look that I got, and I am very happy with this look. Honestly, this second look, and it's too bad that it didn't record because it gave me a new appreciation for the palette. I was kind of thinking that the first look that I did, like I said, with these shades and the colors that I had to work really hard to build up, that look took a little bit longer than what I like to take for a palette, but this second look went so quick, and these metallic shades went on so beautifully, and they were so pigmented. This look gets an A+ for effort. It gets an A+ for quality. I like what's going on here between that blue and this shade here with the yellow base in it. It's making a gorgeous color right in here. I don't know if it's coming up for you guys, but the quality of this second look was excellent. I can't wait to work in this palette more. I am so sorry that somehow I lost my footage while I was recording this. One thing I will say about these palettes is I'm pretty sure that Alter Ego is exactly the same company as Bad Habit, and I bought quite a few Bad Habit palettes, and here's one that comes to mind. It's the Artistry palette, which was a dupe for the Mario palette with ABH. And when you look at everything in this palette, it is done pretty much exactly the same way as the Alter Ego palette. So I'm excited that they did come back because I did like quite a few of their palettes. So that being said, a lot of times I think that I forget because their packaging, the quality of their packaging is so excellent that this is still drugstore quality prices. But this, the first look I would say performed like a drugstore quality palette, but the second look performed just like the high-end palettes. Of course, I don't have the Natasha Denona palette, so I can't say that it was exactly like that, but I am very pleased with it. I will be repeating this look. I think it went on so fast and effortlessly. Like I said, it's a $16 palette. I did go ahead and pick up, let me pick this up, the Aurora palette, and I've been working on getting some looks together with this. This is one that I haven't wanted to do too many looks back to back because the palette is kind of similar. I'll show you what the inside of it looks like just so you get an idea. And it's another Natasha Denona dupe, but I am getting close to being finished with the looks that I wanted to create for that. And I really wish I would have picked up the Sahara palette from Alter Ego. It's supposed to be a dupe for the Biba palette, but I didn't order that, and I went back and forth and hem-hawed around when I put the order in. So that's a palette that I wish I had gotten my hands on, and it's supposed to, like I said, dupe the Biba palette. I would have liked to have seen how the quality of that one worked, but I am so pleased with this look that I'm wearing right now, and I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. You'll also want to hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button so that YouTube notifies you every time I upload a new video. I'll see you guys soon.